Hello and a very warm welcome to Ruka in northern Finland. It is a brand new season of freestyle skiing and we're delighted to bring you live coverage of round one of the Moguls World Cup. Nigel Reid alongside former Moguls athlete and leading Olympic judge Mike Atkinson. There must be tingling in the spine, there must be nerves among these athletes. We're post-Olympics, it's another quadrennial cycle. So what are these athletes thinking as they go to post for the first round of a brand new season, Mike?
Well, absolutely. As you mentioned, the nerves are racing, the excitement, the adrenaline, all in preparation for the upcoming World Cup season. This is the first World Cup of the year. From here, the athletes will head over to China before a Christmas break and then returning to Calgary on January 4th. It's been an exciting time here in Ruka. They've had 3 different course builds to this particular mogul course on the Battery Run track. It's a good length of track at 214 meters, and the combination of turns, speed, and air will give you a combined score to try and get into the finals here this evening.
So let's talk about Moguls 101 for those who may be new to the sport or see it perhaps once every 4 years when the Olympics come round. It is a judge sport. It's about speed. It's about tricks in the air. But it's all about, perhaps more importantly, how you ski down the course.
That's right. 2 jumps on every mogul course. Here, Mikkel Kingsbury, the current Olympic champion. And one thing to pay attention to today is the transitions into the jumps, establishing that rhythm back in the moguls, setting up proper speed control for that bottom air, keeping nice and composed off that second jump, and then continue turning across that finish line. So the turn score makes up 60% of the score. The jumps, as we see here, a corked 720. We should see a lot of those types of rotations, 2 rotations off that bottom air, and again, combined with speed, will give you that overall score.
The moguls themselves is basically a posh word for the jumps themselves. Is this an artificial course, or are we looking at real snow here?
Yeah, it is actually in Finland. They haven't had much snow, so the Canadian team has actually had the benefit of being there early. They've been there for 3 weeks. As I've mentioned, there's been 3 different course builds, and what they do is they get a snowcat and they build up rollers, and then the snowcat, the grooming machine, will push the rollers in half. Traditionally, mogul courses, the moguls are spaced 4 meters apart. This course in Finland, they're spaced a little further. What does that mean? Well, the timing is off. That normal cadence that these athletes are used to, there'll be more of a delayed pause in between each mogul.
Ladies final, 16 athletes from an original field of 34 qualifiers, and the challenge for these athletes is to get into the top 6, into the super final, from which point the medals will be decided. You see there Justine Dufour-Lapointe, well known to Canadian fans, but perhaps the athlete they are all chasing is the young French athlete Perrine Lafont. We will see much of her, I'm sure. Just 20 years of age and quite a phenomenon in the early stages of her career. So 16 women, then 16 men, and from those qualifiers, just 6 make it onto the medal rounds, you might say, Mike.
Yeah, and looking at the scores from the women's qualification round, the females were all jammed up in the 70s. 73.24 from Tess Johnson was the score in 6th place. That will be a number to remember.
First down the course will be from Russia, Anastasia Pervushina, 21 years of age. She is the 2018 Russian national champion gold medals in dual moguls. We will see her teammate very soon, who's just 16, but more about her in a moment. So first down the course, brand new season, and Pervushina for Russia.
So there's that first 360, and you can see just pushing the feet out a little bit to meet the landing of that mogul. Judges want to see the feet underneath the body, not reaching for the mogul. Now, starting to control the speed towards the bottom half of the course, setting up for the jump. That's a backflip truck driver grab. a nice looking run.
It's always going to be difficult and nerve-wracking to go first, but Perevashina made a decent job of it, didn't she?
Yeah, she was clean up the top. You can see those delayed pole plants on the backside. A 360, a little smaller in amplitude. She had a lot of run out on the landing, and I think she's going to get docked points for that top air landing and pushing the feet out to that mogul.
So the first athlete is down the course. Perevashina, a wave for the cameras. She awaits her scores. Remember, 60% of that total is for the way she handled the moguls, 20% for speed, 20% for air, if I have this right, Mike.
Yeah, right.
Laura Grassemann of Germany, 26 years of age. Got her first World Cup podium back in March in Japan. She's the Austrian national champion, by the way.
And there's a backflip with a 360 rotation off that top air. And you can see just some separation after that top landing. Now she's able to bring the feet in together, everything working coordinated, working together. A little bobble with that upper body, another backflip, truck driver, perhaps a little overextension on that back air. A solid run, but a couple little errors. The one thing I did enjoy was the amplitude that she had. Difficulty up top. Take a look at the back full. Just a little rush, Nigel, on the set of that 360. And then here, down at the bottom of the course, you can see the hands go up, trying to establish a grab at the fronts of the skis as she falls out of the sky. So again, a solid run, but room for improvement.
Well, there was a couple of fist bumps I noticed as she crossed the line, and a big smile as well from the German, so I think she's pretty happy with her opening run of the season. Reminding you that there are 16 to go in the first section of this final, but we have to eliminate 10 to get down to 6 for the super final, the medal rounds. Someone waiting. The cameras and the lights upon her, but that's what these athletes are here to do, and temporarily goes into first place, Grassemann. Taylor O'Neill of Australia is our next athlete, 24 years of age. Had 2 NORAM Cup wins back in 2016. Below the World Cup level, how will she handle the elite?
First athlete taking that skier's right line. 3 different lines in this mogul course. Athletes can choose which line best suits their eye. Holding great speed here through that middle section. Missed a lane. Look at the size of the air.
Oh my word. But unfortunately, the air was just too big, and she came a cropper and will not finish. Just a meter short of the finishing line. Looks like she might have hurt herself as well. Young Taylor there. When you talked about the air, it was huge. It almost took her right across the finishing line.
Well, amazing air awareness here. She misses that last kind of speed check mogul. And I mean, out jumping the chop, the course crew in Finland actually preparing the landings to try and soften the blow. And Taylor goes way big at the bottom air. Very lucky just to find her feet on that bottom jump.
It was an awkward landing, came down on her backside and then over and back a couple of times. Stayed on the snow for a little while, but as you can see, happily, the Australian picking herself up. Nothing too much other than her ego bruised, Mike.
I've done that many times, Nigel.
Now, Anastasia Smirnova is the youngest competitor in this entire event. She's just 16 years of age, came through the qualifiers, and she, by the way, is the Russian national champion, so she may well have a very big future ahead of her.
Now, we've talked about the air, we've talked about the speed. There's a 360 mute grab.
Oh, well, maybe the nerves, maybe the balance, but it's very ungainly, and having come across that first jump, well, she's up again. Will complete the course, but her course, I fear, is run, Smirnova.
Well, it was Canadian Jean-Francois Cousin, who's actually the coach of the Canadian slopestyle team, that first had that mute grab. It was brought into the spotlight when Johnny Mosley did it at the Olympics in Japan. And that top air, that 360 mute grab, she has to isolate the upper body, allowing that right arm to come down right here, grab the ski, and you can see the upper body just continued on with the rotation that threw her offline.
The balance just wasn't there on her way down, having grabbed the ski. Looked good for a while, but there's the landing. Just topples across to her right-hand side. Well, it's a tough sport and a tough lesson for the teenager, just 16 years of age.
The score, and that's 22:53 for Anastasia Smirnova from Russia.
Back at the top of the run, first of the Japanese, Hinako Tomitaka.
From Japan, Hinako.
Another teenager, 18 years of age, the Japanese national champion. And a silver at the World Juniors earlier this year.
Well, pay attention to Team Japan over the course of the next 4 years. They seem to have something up their sleeve. The whole team demonstrates a very strong work ethic, and Tomitaka doing a really nice job here, keeping in sync with those moguls, letting the moguls come to it. There's a cork 720, little backseat on the landing.
It was a little dicey the last 20 meters, but she stayed on her feet. It was quick, that was for sure.
So important, Nigel, when you come into these airs, you want to remain forward. You want to have pressure in the fronts of your boots. Here at the bottom air, she just lands a little back seat, and that indicates just a weaker takeoff off the bottom jump.
Now, how will they penalize her as far as that's concerned, Mike, for the landing?
Well, you could see there was that moment of hesitation rather than the rhythm continuing. So that will deduct. Now, we've seen scores in the low 70s, and right there, Tomitaka coming in with a 69.86.
And into third place for the time being. On we go. Olivia Giaccio of the United States, another teenager, 18 years of age.
69.86.
A two-time medalist at the 2017 World Juniors, so another young American athlete with some promise.
2, 1, go.
Oh, it's incredible just to hear the sounds of the skis. And you watch those tips, how they dive over each mogul, using that absorption and extension for their benefit. Judges want to see the skis remaining on the ground. They don't want to see the skis pivot or slide out to the slide in a big rotation, but again, caught up with the upper body on that bottom air.
Well, like her Japanese competitor, and she managed to just hold it together on the last 20 meters after that second big air, but it wasn't the most convincing of landings.
So back full up top, you see those arms drive forward, down at the bottom. There's the first 360 into the second 360 on the cork 720. And unfortunately, again, the shoulders fall offline and throw the hips out of the course.
Let's see how the judges will mark her. Remember, it's only 20% of the mark goes to the jumps, but you need to get down there quickly as well.
And with that landing, it will affect the turn scores.
Well, she's smiling and hoping, perhaps more in, perhaps not so much in expectation, into the 60s, into fourth place, and they've marked her down. Up at the top of the course, Jakara Anthony, another of the strong Australian team, 20 years of age. Two-time winner of the Australian New Zealand Cup earlier this year in 2018.
Jakara throwing in an actual pole plant up top, used for timing. A nice big 360 there, actually spotting at 180 to control the rotation. Nice looking run here, those feet working together. You can see the shoulders remaining square, the vision looking about 5 or 6 moguls ahead. Now the speed control, the backflip, maybe going for a grab, but just pulls it over in the tuck position. A very well scoring run right there. Not too many faults with that, Nigel.
Well, it wasn't spectacular necessarily in terms of the jump. It was a very efficient run, as you say, and stuck both the landings, no question about that.
There's that 360, the spot, and you see those arms reach forward down the hill. Here's the set to the backdrop, the back tuck, kicking out of that tuck position, and again, the arms in perfect condition to carrying on her turns at the bottom of the course.
Of course, the Australians all chasing Brittany Cox, one of the outstanding athletes on the World Tour, but Jakara Anthony giving her a run for her money, 76. And into first place for the time being. We will see Brittany Cox in the not too distant future. So the first 6 athletes are down, 10 to come. Now, Jaelin Kauf, one of the leading contenders for World Cup wins, disappointed herself at the Olympic Games, finished only 7th, but a real threat to the podium.
Now right away I'm watching Kauf's left arm, our right arm on screen. You can see how it just has a little bit of a swing motion, causing just a little bit excessive upper body movement. Judges really want to see things clean and quiet, but look at the amount of air she has on the bottom jump with that back cross.
22.52, I think that's the fastest we've seen so far. She was very rapid down the course. The skiing was fine. The jumps weren't necessarily spectacular, but no great problem with them. And an encouraging first run from the young American.
Right back into the turns, and then down at the bottom, lets the skis run, holds the position with the iron cross, back on point, and carries on the turns across the finish line. An exciting run there for the American.
That might be the best we've seen so far. Let's see what the judges think. Fist pump, yeah. It's nice to know that she can smile about it, and why not, because she's into first place, 77.26 for Kauf. Back to the top of the run, one of the late qualifiers, another American, Alex Jensen, 23 years of age, much less experienced. But she'll be happy to be in this final. Had a NORAM Cup win back in 2016, nothing much else to write home about. Can she rise to the occasion here?
Well, I think you can see that each leg working independently rather than together, especially coming out of that top air as well. A little problem getting into that top air, a little loose at the bottom, and overextension on the back layout.
You could see that as she was upside down in midair. You could see that it wasn't going to be a landing that she would be proud of. Again, back on her heels and couldn't hold it together.
Well, these moguls are designed to throw you off your game. They're designed to throw you into the back seat. And if you don't have that control going into the bottom air, that's a perfect example of what can happen. Having too much rotation for the amount of air as she tries to stretch things out, but unfortunately goes down.
Over-rotation costing Jensen there. And that will, of course, affect her final mark. Up until then, it wasn't bad.
That's why some difficulties there.
Just 32 and into 7th and final place for the time being for Jensen. Now, Brittany Cox, we mentioned her, the Australian, 9 World Cup wins, the 2017 World Championship gold medalist. We expect great things from Brittany Cox, 24 years of age. How will she do? First run of the new season.
And just a fireball in the gate there, the right side 360. So a lot of these athletes comfortable with the left side spin. Brittany spinning off to the right. Very nice skiing there through that middle line, which seems to be the line of choice so far this evening. Again, these athletes have been competing since 11 o'clock, and Brittany looking very strong.
A little bit of knee bend on the final jump. But other than that, it was solid and relatively quick. Should be enough to get her into maybe the top 3 or 4 places.
Well, and you remember Jakara's first run, 76.35, a similar run here, not taking a lot of risk with that amplitude on the top air, setting up that back layout, winding the arms out, again, driving down a little back seat, actually, Nigel, so a couple points off.
Yeah, I just noticed that as she came over that final jump. Stayed on her feet, but almost sat down as she sped towards the finishing line. How will that affect her score? Brittany Cox, one of the leading athletes in women's moguls. Expects great things of herself, of course. 2017 world champion.
Ja siinä odotellaan tuomarin tulosta, oli varmaan vähän haastava jollain tapaa.
Well, going over the qualifying scores this morning, no scores in the 80s, so there's a lot of room there.
Only 5th for Cox, and I would imagine Mike she'll be a little disappointed with that.
Yeah, I think so, and especially that bottom air. We'll see if she makes it into the top 6.
Now then, Canadian athletes getting ready. That's Justine Dufour-Lapointe, but before her, we'll have a look at Tess Johnson at the top of the hill, just 18 years of age. Has a World Cup win to her credit, was 4th in Mont-Tremblant earlier this year. So she has some form, Johnson. We're looking to get into that top 6 to match her number.
Nice middle section through here. Right now, she wants to start preparing the speed for that bottom air. Sets the back layout right to the fronts of the skis. And on point, a solid run there from the American.
23.76, and yep, as you said, solid is the word. Very efficient, no problems with the jumps. And Tess Johnson will be probably among the top 2 or 3 athletes at the moment.
It looked as if it took her a couple turns off that top air to kind of regain her composure, but a very dynamic middle section. She was on it from edge to edge, actually carving the ski to keep in control.
Into first place, well, can't do much better than that. 77.94 for Tess Johnson, a new target for those who follow. And here, I believe, is Justine Dufour-Lapointe of Montreal, the Olympic gold medalist from 2014, silver medalist from Pyeongchang in 2018.
Well, and you can see her at the top of the course, visualizing that back full. There's the 360, not quite a strong set as we've seen from the other female competitors, but really compact. Look at that upper body remaining right down the fall line, and that lower body doing all the work. Really early with those pole plants. You can see reaching down the hill, a back layout, a great run there for Justine, the Canadian, for her first World Cup of the season.
24.63 the time, a little slower than Johnson, but she seems relatively happy with that. Big smile from Justine. Of course, part of that terrific Dufour-Lapointe sister act. Chloe also here didn't actually make the final. Maxime recently retired, but Justine still at it, still competitive, still looking to get amongst the medals.
Yeah, and I think she had a great run there. I would like to see her clean up that top air just a little.
Into 3rd place for the time being, 76.91 for the Canadian.
With the total score of 76.98.
So that's how we stand. Johnson and Koff, the 2 Americans, ahead of Dufour-Lapointe. Jessica Anthony in 4th place. Brittany Cox looking to get into that top 6. Will she make it? Here is Kisara Sumiyoshi of Japan, the 2018 World Junior Champion from Sweden. So they have a big future ahead of her.
And right away, pushing strong out of that gate, sets the impression with the judges that she's attacking this course. And again, look at how compact she is, handling all those transitions. A little wild there. And
oh my word, yeah. Well, she got out of balance and missed the last jump, and will come home, and she'll be disappointed with that. Of course, it won't be good enough to get her into the super round, the super final.
Yeah, I was very impressed though with that top section.
Did she go a little too fast, a little too quickly, too early? Because she seemed to get out of sync pretty quick, Mike.
Yeah, I just think kind of failure to complete the one turn. And if there's a little ripple in the turn, it'll just make an echo effect as you work your way down the course.
Yes.
It just becomes magnified. Unfortunately, she was unable to hold on.
Another of the Japanese, Junko Hoshino, far more experienced, 29-year-old. She has 3 World Cup podiums, including a Canadian bronze back in 2014. But here we are in Finland for Hoshino.
And just squeezing that backflip around, I think missed her set. Lucky to find her feet on that rotation. We've seen the other females just have a little more of an efficient rotation. And now here, just hinged forward ever so slightly, but wraps it up with a big cork 7 at the bottom. So again, a well-established run, but a couple things to clean up, including some of the skiing throughout the middle section.
It was relatively quick, 23:65 the time for Hoshino. And
you can see that upper body throw the trick around rather than a nice smooth trajectory and smooth transition throughout the routine. A little heavy head on that landing. And again, those are all little detailed notes that the judges will reflect on.
how will they reflect? How will they score? Hoshino, powerful Japanese team, into 5th place for the time being, reminding you that you need to be in the top 6 to get into the medal round. So far so good for Hoshino, but there are more competitors to come. And here is the lady we spoke about off the top of the show, 20-year-old Perrine Lafont of France, the Olympic gold medalist and World Championship silver medalist. Just 20 years of age. She's come from virtually nowhere in the last couple of years, and now this is the athlete that they are all chasing, Mike.
Yeah, so aggressive through this middle section. The knees coming up to the chest and actually curling back. A little hamstring maneuver at the top of that absorption sets her up for that cork 7 at the bottom. And Perrine throwing down a big one.
24-24, and it looked effortless, and that's what all the great athletes do. They make it look easy, Mike, don't they?
Absolutely, and here we go, taking a look at that top air. Again, playing it a little safe. Would like to see a little more amplitude, perhaps if she makes it into that top 6, and then the skis rolling over that mogul, setting up into that cork 720, 2 rotations off access 720, a great landing and a great run there for Perrine.
Not the fastest we've seen, but it was certainly solid, efficient, and in control, and good enough to take Perrine Lafont right to the top of the qualifying list. As she would expect, here's Yulia Galisheva, another of whom much is expected. Kazakhstan, 26 years of age, an Olympic bronze earlier this year. So Galisheva has certainly demonstrated her ability in this calendar year.
Oh, and there's the backflip mute grab. So isolating the lower body from the upper body and actually getting a grab on that rotation. So a higher degree of difficulty. The feet are glued together. The arms are in good position. A very nice looking run here for the final competitor in this qualifying round. There's the front flip truck driver from Yulia. And that, I think we're going to see a new first place leader.
24.97. You don't see that maneuver too often, but she managed to get it right, didn't she?
2 rotations with 2 different grabs. So the core strength that you need to isolate that lower body, bring it up down here at the bottom. A great set, kind of a Superman front flip, reaching down for the truck driver, and dynamic the whole way down.
Well, you talk about the core strength there, and her stomach was absolutely flat and 90 degrees to her legs as she came over the top. Timed it perfectly. Is it good enough to get ahead of Lafont?
I
Let's have a
think
look.
we'll see a score into the 80s here, Nigel.
You're absolutely right. We have a score into the 80s, the first, and Galisheva edges ahead of Lafont in qualifying. So there we are. We have our top 6, Galisheva, Lafont, Johnson, Koff, Dufour-Lapointe of Canada, and Jakara Anthony. Brittany Cox, not good enough to make the super final, and those are the rest of the qualifiers.
Yes, and there's Sofiane Gagnon, new to the World Cup scene, a skier out of Whistler, British Columbia, used to ski for the Blackcomb Freestyle Club. Look for big things from her. I think we'll see a change in tactics as we go into the top 6. A lot of room to improve on that top air, executing the amplitude as we shift gears now and get set for the men's final.
Same equation for the men's. We have 16 finalists, and the equation for them is simple. Get into the top 6 or you will be going home. Michael Kingsbury, or Mikhail Kingsbury, Mick, as he is known,
the king
is the man. Well, he is the king of the hill, and he has been for many years. We'll talk about him in a little while. This is Loka Nilsson of Sweden, who'll lead us off, 20 years of age, the 2018 World Junior Champion. Made his World Cup debut right here in Ruka. 12 months ago in 2017, and look who's in town. Well, everybody's come to see the action by the looks of it. Reindeer as well. So Loke Nielsen will get us underway. We will get a chance to talk about Mikael Kingsbury and the superstar of men's moguls. Dominant figure is almost an understatement to describe what Kingsbury has done in this sport over, well, getting on for 10 years now. Made his World Cup debut back in 2010, and he has carried all before him, but we will get to him in time.
I've had a brief conversation with Canadian mogul legend Pierre-Alexandre Rousseau. He talked about the quickness of the transition in the jumps. So look for the moguls, 2 to 3 moguls before, how the athlete sets up and how they deal with that transition change as they launch themselves into the Finland night sky.
Kingsbury won this event last year. He was followed by Dmitry Reichert, who's also here. Pavel Kolmakov took the bronze medal. Kingsbury, the Olympic champion. But watch out for Ikumu Horishima, young Japanese who got a couple of first place podiums towards the end of last season. He may be the pretender to the throne as we look at these qualifiers coming down, Mike.
The other interesting point right now is we can see the banner off to the left side of the screen and that wind starting to come across the course. We'll see how that affects the rotation. And you see right there on that back full, just a little loose in the air. It wasn't a smooth rotation, but nice skiing now. Very quick, very fast, a little loose, dumping some speed, winds it up with a huge cork 7, but too many mistakes heading into that bottom air.
Quick though, very quick, and that's the sort of speed you can expect from these men. 20.09 the time from Nielsen.
Yeah, a high degree of difficulty up top, the back full, but right there, a little thrown off on that last mogul, and you can see almost in that pike position. And then here, fighting that upper potty to set the trick, the corked 720, huge amplitude, but too many mistakes for my liking.
Well, because he's the first skier, he will go into first place, obviously. Got down cleanly with those mistakes that Mike was detailing. 73.17 for Nielsen. And temporarily into first place. Now, Japanese strong in men's as in women's. Mordecai Shikata, two-time Japanese champion.
The right side cork 7 and right back into it, and you can see how quiet that upper body is remaining, letting the lower body doing all the works. None of the legs pushing out for the mogul, remaining back behind. And there's the 1080 at the bottom, so 3 rotations on that jump.
Count him. Mike did. Shikata. Pretty spectacular stuff for the first of the Japanese competitors.
So a high degree of difficulty on the jumps. There's the cork 7. Right back into the turns. You can see that right arm set the trick. And then the 1080 at the bottom of the course. The feet just lagging behind a little bit, but right back into the rhythm of the turn.
Well, talking of the tricks, I was reading some quotes from Kingsbury earlier today and yesterday, and he reckons he's got more tricks to come for a new season. I'm not sure whether we'll see it today, but...
Yeah, and I think you're touching on the 1440, which is 4 rotations. We could see, we've already seen the first 1080, 3 rotations, as well double flips. It's not yet approved by FIS, but the athletes have the talent to do so.
Brodie Summers of Australia, 25 years of age, has a couple of World Cup podiums to his credit, both in 2017, one of the later qualifiers for the top 16. Can he squeeze his way into the top 6?
Very clean double or single back full. On that skier's right line, it looks as if it's a little awkward to get into that top jump. And then here down through the middle section of the course, it's a little more sheltered, going with a cork 7 tail grab. So a little something different, adding a little extra pizzazz on that bottom air.
Took a little longer to get down, 21.85 for Brodie Summers, so not the quickest. but it was clean.
Yeah, and actually we mentioned how many different course builds there has been on this course. There's 4 lines at the top, narrowing down into 3 lines after that top air, so it is a little awkward. There's that left arm reaching for the tail on that bottom
So at
7.
what point do you decide which line you're going to take? Do you do it before you ever come out of the gate, or are you halfway down the course?
Absolutely.
I mean, can you almost change courses in mid-course, so to
Well,
speak?
then you would see a major line deviation, which you would be robbed points. You would have to figure this all out in training leading up to the contest.
Summers into second place for the time being, as those that come behind him get themselves composed. This is Martin Souret of France, 22 years of age. 3 Europa Cup podiums already in 2018, but World Cup is a whole different level, Mike.
A little late on that release. You can see, and a little extra arm movement trying to slow that rotation down. I think it was because of that third mogul before that top air. He just seemed to miss it a little bit. Now he's playing catch up, coming into the bottom air. Finds his feet again on that cork 7.
Well, he certainly caught it up at the end. 20.77 the time for Souret. Looked a little unsteady at the top.
Yeah, that last mogul turn, and you can just see those arms shoot for the sky, trying to slow down that rotation. And then down at the bottom, he's able to regain that composure into the cork 7. Much better landing on the second jump.
How will the judges score the Frenchman? Certainly found some speed in the bottom part and goes into first place. 77.50 for Souret of France. Coaching staff seem pretty happy with that. Ludwig Fjällström of Sweden. 6-time Swedish national champion.
I think, Nigel, with this field and the quality of the course tonight, I think you're going to need something in the 80s to get into that top 6 to make it to the next round.
Bear that in mind. Need to be into the 80s, says Mike. 16 of them. There will be a cut and to get to 6, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, it's okay. A little extra lateral movement with the upper body, just falling into the troughs of the moguls. Now, you want to remember to try and keep light, allowing the skis to flex to start the absorption process rather than getting heavy on a left to right upper body movement with the turns in the middle. Starts it off with the back full, and then down at the bottom, a little side flip going for a high inside safety. So again, a good run. We've seen higher degree of difficulties in the jumps, however.
Fjällström waiting for his score from the judges. A little untidy in places, he probably knows it. I'm sure, as any athlete will know, they're all very self-critical, none more so than Kingsbury, who admits he's very hard on himself. He admits to being a perfectionist, but I suppose to be the best, you've got to beat the best. How will Fjällström, as he waits for his score, fare here? 25 years of age, the Swedish national champion.
Here we go.
Well, he's into the 80s. 81.09, and he will be very happy with that, Mike.
Yeah, and I mentioned 80 into that 80s. Remember, Kingsbury already in the qualification round had the top score of 84.91. He's the last competitor to drop here in the semifinals.
Number 21, Andrei Makhnev of Russia, the 2017 Russian national champion.
Back full, and you can see him steer that rotation around with the arms. Really tight skiing here through that middle section. That middle line seems to be the line of choice. A little late coming into the speed check, moguls. Throws out the cork 7 and just offline on that landing for the Russian.
21.24 the time for Makhnev. A little offline, a little slower.
Well, it's all about transitions. You come out of that top air with so much speed. You need to get back into the moguls, and then coming into the bottom air, you don't want to appear that you're dumping speed. You want a smooth transition, and here the Russian elects to go with a safer cork 7, and I think we're going to need higher degree of difficulty if you want to crack the podium tonight.
Just one in the 80s at the moment. That was Fjällström. Can Makhnev get anywhere close?
Hard to believe that we have still 10 guys to go at the
All the big guns still coming. Not good enough for Makhnev, 6th position for the time being, but that is a position which will not hold, I'm afraid. This is Daichi Hara, perhaps the strongest of the Japanese competitors in the top two there. Olympic bronze medalist from Pyeongchang.
Well, the whole Japanese team have demonstrated a tremendous work ethic, and I really think it is an individual sport, but the whole Japanese team, something to look forward to as we head to Beijing in 2022. On a very unusual grab there, reaching up on the high mute on that cork 7.
It was quick, 20.50. What about the landing after that second jump, Mike?
Yeah, not quite as on point as we've seen from some of the other athletes, but still a very unique trick. There's the corked left 7 up top. Now watch that right arm reach in, the 2 fingers hook the ski to establish that grab, and a little back seat. You can see the flex of the skis on the tails.
Hara waiting his score. He would certainly expect to be in and around that top 6. He was quick, a little untidy on that final landing, as Mike was saying. A little bit of back seat there. And it's just those tiny elements that can make the difference with the judges scoring.
Well, absolutely. We just saw the Russian skier Andrei. I thought he was hammered for that run with 68.70.
Hara into second place, 78.47, but it may be enough to get him into the medal rounds. Reindeer seems singularly unimpressed with the entertainment. But he's cute, there's no question about that. Here is Casey Andringa, one of the Andringa brothers, the American, 23 years of age, finished 5th in the Olympics, World Junior Bronze back in 2015, but has never managed a World Cup podium. Maybe this season will be his season.
Very well executed cork 720, and he's hung up on that top section. You could see there was almost that moment, that moment of pause where nothing really happened. Now he's able to recover. You could see that arm come out. There's the 1080
Nicely
at
done.
The bottom.
Nicely done. Wow, you heard the public address announcer say, indeed it was.
Yeah.
20.73, it was quick and it was pretty spectacular from the American.
Too many moments of recovery in that run for me, Nigel. Just kind of fighting it the whole way down. Here's that top air, the cork 720. The feet swing underneath. Able to get back into the moguls, and it was right in that last section. You could see right before that takeoff on the 1080, the right arm dropped, act as an anchor, perhaps limiting some of the amplitude that he could have gained off that bottom air.
Well, Santa's not amongst the judging panel, but he's there to support the American, Andringa. Now, how will the judges see it? Into second place, 79.40, maybe has a chance to crack the top 6, maybe.
Yeah, I'm still holding strong with a score of 80 or better to get in there.
Here's Matt Graham of Australia, 24 years of age, silver medal at the Olympic Games in Pyeongchang, has 14 World Cup podiums, so he is vastly experienced and has had plenty of success over the years, Mike.
And let's watch the skiing. Let's pay attention to the tips of the skis, diving over each mogul. A little separation there, Nigel. The legs coming apart through the midsection of the course, now dropping onto the speed. There's a cork 1080 from Matty Graham as well.
21.54, it's not as quick as we've seen, but it was, well, again, another solid run from the experienced Australian, Matt Graham.
And yeah, a strong run, an unusual maneuver up top, and then down here, the 1080, you can see the arms wrapping up, and then the legs bending in just to finish the trick. And there was a couple little mistakes in that middle section with the legs separating as well.
Anxious wait perhaps for Matt Graham. 16 qualifiers for the first final, but only 6 will contest the medals. Graham into the 80s, 80.34 into second place. Nod of the head for Graham. Goshin Fujiki, another of the Japanese, 21 years of age. Oh, I beg your pardon. It's Laurent Dumais of Canada. My mistake, mistook the bib there. First of the Canadians.
Well, I had the pleasure of talking with Rob Kober yesterday Mikkel Kingsbury coached last year at the Olympics. Rob just awarded the highest achievement in the Coaching Association of Canada, the Jack Donahue Award. He said Laurent is a very disciplined athlete. He's a strong, athletic type, and he finds his feet on that 1080.
Oh, look at the fist! Look at the fist pump from Dubé at the bottom.
He commented on his intensity, and you can see it right there, Nigel, with that celebration.
Well, I think sometimes athletes try to sell it to the judge, but I think Dumais was genuinely delighted with the way he stuck that landing.
Well, he certainly benefits from the team atmosphere that the Canadian team has. Down here at the bottom, there's the first rotation, the second, and then the third on his 1080, and a very clean landing, a little deep, letting the arms drop, but will this run score in the 80s?
22 years of age from Quebec City, one World Cup podium under his belt. He'd love to add another here and give Mikhail Kingsbury some company. Well, he's in 5th place, 78.37 for the time being. We'll see whether that holds up. Walter Vollberg of Sweden, teenager, 18 years of age. 2018 World Junior Gold in dual moguls. Can he do it all by himself?
Now, paying attention to the pole plants. We want to see the pole plants reaching to the backside of the moguls, signifying the completion of one turn, the extension of the legs, and then into the other turn. A little late on that left side mogul, only a cork 720, so 2 rotations, kind of mediocre, nothing too fancy about that, Nigel.
21.05 the time. So he needed to go quicker with the lack of ambition, I suppose, on the jumps, but relatively tidy, relatively unspectacular. But he's only a young man, just learning his trade in the game.
Yeah, and again, we're seeing those higher degree of difficulties. We didn't see any cork 10s we saw cork 10s, excuse me, in training, but just electing to go with the cork 7.
Let's have a look. Well, the judges love it. Into first place, 82.25.
I guess that's why I'm here now.
Walter Vollberg of Sweden, 18 years of age, into first place. And from Sweden, Scandinavian rival. From Finland, Jimmy Salonen, 24 years of age, has 3 wins on this course, Mike. Not at this level, but 3 FIS wins at Ruka. Look at that.
Yeah.
And he's come to entertain the locals. He really has, Salonen. He's enjoying himself. And look at the speed from Salonen.
Yeah, just needs to hold on to keep the feet underneath him onto that bottom air, the cork 7.
Oh, he's got it. Just kept his footing at the end, and listen to the fans here. I'm not sure we expected that from Salonen, but he came out with a purpose, and he wasn't holding anything back, was he?
No, and you can see that vision look around on that final 360 of the 1080. Even though he misses the plant at the top, he still keeps that lower body functioning. Now here, a little back, perhaps a hand drag on that landing.
Well, that might cost him, but I did mention that he has won on multiple occasions on this course. And maybe there is such a thing, Mike, as horses for courses, because he came out full of energy, full of intent, and wanted to entertain the local fans. He's certainly done that. Whether or not he makes the final 6 is almost irrelevant. Let's see what his score is for Salonen. The locals, of course, would be delighted if he can get into the medal round.
It's probably the most exciting moment for the guys doing for the points.
For us too.
Yes, indeed. It is an exciting moment. Let's have a look. He's into second place. Salonen, 82.09. And that's what the crowd think of that. So a Swede, 2 Swedes and a Finn leading the way. There are other skiers to come, but what a moment for the locals. Now, Ikumo Horishima, perhaps the strongest of the Japanese contingent, 20 years of age, 3 World Cup wins in 2018, the only man to beat Mikhail Kingsbury on the World Cup circuits last season.
Well, you can bet that he will not hold back. He will put it all on the line here, right into the tricks, right into the skiing. Very dynamic, a little loose, a little left and right with those hands. Regains the composure. Now down to the bottom air. What will we see? The cork 10. Wow. I can't believe he pulled that trick off with the body position coming into that bottom air.
Quick as well, 20.84. Look at the smile on his face, Hiroshima. He knows he's come intent on business and setting down a marker for Kingsbury and others to follow.
So the back double full, and you can see almost off axis as opposed to cork, so not quite as inverted as we see on the cork rotations.
What about the landing on that second jump?
Yeah, still pretty strong. Very exciting run.
Hiroshima, the young pretender perhaps to Kingsbury's throne. Let's see what the judges think. First event of the season, and I suppose a psychological advantage if you can get ahead, put down a firm podium finish in the first of the events of the season. Well, only third. Well, should be enough to get him into the top 6. Dmitry Reichert, though, of Kazakhstan, another who would want to be on the podium, 29 years of age, has 14 World Cup podiums, but only 8th at the Olympic Games. So he'll be looking to bounce back strongly this season. That's pretty impressive.
Now watch the knee action here. Watch how quick it is. Look at that upper body. Very strong, very still, right down the fall line. Really light on that plant, and then just a backflip mute grab.
Quick. It's very quick. 20.55 for Reichert of Kazakhstan.
And the time is good as well.
Matching the time of Hiroshima.
Well, what an impression to leave with the judges. Dmitry just stepping it down, going with the backflip mute grab at the bottom of the course. We'll get a close-up on that jump, and watch where he lands. Here's the backflip, out clears all the chop, and lands on the downside right there of the mogul, sets him up for those final bottom turns.
Reichert being congratulated by Santa. Will there be a present from the judges? There is. He's into first place. Into first place. 84.93 for Reichert.
Well, and
So
that's where
mark.
we've seen those little mistakes on the landing, so the landings seem to be of particular importance.
Ben Cavett competes for France, but born in the Garden of England in Maidstone in Kent. Couldn't get funding from the English, emigrated to France. He is now a French citizen and has a silver medal in the World Championships from 2017, but talks like I do.
Very clean on that back full into that middle line. Really composed turns. There's the 1080, the cork 10, a little wheelie on that landing.
And not the quickest, 21.77 for Cavett. That has had multiple podium finishes under the French flag, Mike.
Well, I think the point that you made in the last run with Dmitry was how these guys are getting out of the landings. There's the back full up top. You can see landing, forward pressure on the boots. Down here at the bottom, watch the tails of the skis. Just a little back seat, that split second before you're able to get back into the front seat and continue on with the turns.
He has 11 World Cup podiums, and the judges liked it. 83.50, he's into second place. Maybe a little surprising there.
Yeah, I thought
it looked
so
a little
well.
untidy, but judges thought that's fine. So here's the man we've all waited to see, Mikhail Kingsbury, the king of the hill, who has dominated this sport for at least 8 years. What has he got for us in 2018? 2019.
Well, he was the highest qualifier. Look at the amplitude. Watch how he drops out of the sky. A lot of these other athletes are traveling A to B. Mikhail takes these jumps up. And I mean, just picture perfect. And a huge 1080 to the bottom of that mogul.
And it's quick too, 20.97.
I mean,
Kingsbury does not disappoint.
It really is at another level. And the fact that he can remain that
that's clever too.
consistent.
Flipping the ski like a golfer with a putter.
The club twirl.
Yeah, how about that?
So there's the back.
Maybe that's what he was working on in the summer.
There's the back full, and watch those skis diving down. Here again, Kingsbury taking it out past the landing on the downside of that mogul. No pause in the turns. I think that's going to be your top run of the night so far.
86-63.
Yeah.
He is into first place to absolutely nobody's surprise. Kingsbury's back. He is hungry. He is determined. He is as focused as ever. And he said, take that to his rivals. Kingsbury leads the finalists. Reichert, Cavett, Valberg, Salonen, and Horishima will compete for the medals in Ruka.
Well, it's still unbelievable. Kingsbury in the qualification round blew the field away by 2 points, and again, does it here in the first final. We will see him. He will be the last athlete to drop into this mogul course a little later on.
So we have a couple of minutes break before the women's final, which will feature one Canadian, Justine Dufour-Lapointe. We've just seen Michael Kingsbury. What's impressed you in these opening runs? Mike, anything stand out to you? I mean, obviously Kingsbury, the state of the course, the state of the competition, perhaps.
Well, again, hats off to the course workers here in Finland. They do a phenomenal job. They've had some challenges to work with the snow conditions or the lack of snow conditions that they've had in the 3 weeks leading up to this first World Cup tour. We have a little break. There hasn't been much of a break for Team Canada. They were back on snow in June when the team was announced. May, June, they spent the time in Whistler working on the flats, perfecting the carve of the turn. You don't want to wait till the end of the turn to get into things. You want to get onto the turn as early as possible. July, they were in France, Australia throughout the summer. They spent a week in Zermatt, Switzerland in October, and they've had 3 weeks in Finland, all to prepare for this World Cup season.
The contenders for the medals in the women's event, led off by Jakara Anthony of Australia. Dufour-Lapointe will follow her. Then Koff and Johnson, the two Americans. Lafont of France and Galisheva will be the final skier. So Jakara Anthony of Australia, just 20 years of age. Doesn't have a World Cup podium. Perhaps today, the start of a new season, is her chance.
Nice 360 up top, clean and efficient. We saw a little separation there on that left turn, the left leg coming out to meet the mogul. That'll be a slight deduction. Now hamming it up here, building the speed, setting things for that bottom air. There's the set, the back tuck. Again, driving the hands forward on the landing to establish that forward body position.
24-26 from Jakara Anthony of Australia. So that is the targets to beat. 6 competitors, but only 3 medals, Mike.
There's the 360 landing 4 points, meaning that both skis and the 2 poles landing in forward, establishing that forward body position, and then down at the bottom, the back tuck. You can see the hands come up out of the jump and force themselves down the hill.
Jakara is not making it very easy for them.
So Jakara Anthony awaits the judges' score. Just 20 years of age, so big future ahead of her. 75-44, the targets to beat for Justine Dufour-Lapointe, among others. And here is the Canadian Olympic medalist. I wonder how it feels going second of 6. You don't want to make any mistakes, but you've got to just trust your ability, trust your experience. I guess you just go for it, Mike.
Well, she has an opportunity now to send a message to the rest of the field, but a little back seat. We talked about that skier's right line, a little awkward into that top air, and Justina, unfortunately, playing victim coming into that top air.
So an early mistake from Dufour-Lapointe. Can she make it up on the bottom part of the course? Needs a big jump, needs a solid jump it is. Now needs some speed as quickly as she can get down there. 24.58 for Dufour-Lapointe.
58. Good job.
Well, we talked about the different course builds, and that top air on the right-hand side, right there, we just missed that shot. You can just see she was late with the extension of that 360. Kind of was bent taking off that jump. Judges want to see almost leaving from the balls of your feet. Nice and straight there on that back layout, which ensures a strong landing.
Well, she's always happy. She always competes with a smile on her face, doesn't she?
Looking good. Justin is probably
But
warming
she'd
nervous
love to
now.
be on the podium. Again, as she's been so many times in her career. Come on, she says, fingers crossed. What do the judges think? Well, 73.49. She's into second place behind Anthony for the time being. Now, there are 4 more competitors. The 2 Americans, Jalen Koff is the next competitor to go down. 22 years of age, has 4 World Cup wins. Would expect herself, back herself to get on the podium here.
Well, and not as tight in the air on that 360. And a little extra lateral movement there, not remaining direct and committed to the fall line, kind of stepping to the left and right side, getting into the depths of the trough, wheeling out of that back cross.
Certainly wasn't a convincing landing on the second jump from Koff.
Well, what,
she will know it. Look at that. I mean, head down, body language probably tells you everything you need to know, Mike.
well, it didn't look all that bad, but it probably didn't feel all that great. Here's that back iron cross at the bottom. Watch the backs of the skis, and you can just see that weight shift to the back, and then she's got to struggle to get back into that forward body position.
Forcing a smile, Jalen Koff. Now, how much will the judges deduct her for that slightly dodgy landing? Other than that, it was pretty clean. This is a judged sport. And the judges will confer.
Well,
Let's have a look. Into second place, 74.05. So moves ahead of the Canadian Dufour-Lapointe and behind Jakara Anthony for the time being. Tess Johnson, the second of the Americans, just 18 years of age. She has already won World Cup wins, so a bright future, perhaps ahead of Tess Johnson. Can she get ahead of her fellow American Koff here?
great takeoff there from Tess, utilizing that full range of motion. Look at those knees come up and cover the 6 on her bib, dropping the tips down through the moguls. Really cooking through this middle section. There's the set. A big back layout for Tess Johnson.
Nicely done, quick as well. I think that's the first under 24 seconds. 23.87 from Tess Johnson. It looked clean, it looked quick, it looked committed to me, Mike.
It sure did, and it starts things off with that 360 up top. Nice penciled form. There's that extension. She takes it up right there at the midsection, dropping out of the sky. There's that left arm, staying forward, reaching towards the back side of the mogul, and now the extension on the back layout, down to the bottom. Again, the hands driving for the finish line.
Well, if she gets into first place at this particular moment, she will be guaranteed a medal because there are only 2 to follow her. But she'll be thinking higher than that. Tess Johnson, was that a run good enough to take her above her rivals? It was 75.85. She will be on the podium. Now it's just a question of what color the medal will be. We know Johnson will medal. 2 competitors to come. The French athlete Pierrine Lafont and from Kazakhstan, Yulia Galisheva. Just the 2 ahead of her. First, the Olympic champion, Pierrine Lafont, just 20 years of age, has put down some huge strides in her young career over the last couple of years. Start of a brand new Moguls World Cup season.
There's the back cross, throwing the upper body through the completion of that rotation. Look at how tight those hands are, keeping them just shoulder width apart. And you can see the wrist deflecting each pull. And then a cork 7 down at the bottom. A little stutter getting back into the line, but still a very solid run for the French skier.
Not the quickest, 24.09 for Pierrine Lafont, the Olympic champion.
I mean,
she's got an anxious wait here.
I mean, we're comparing things to what we just saw from the young American Tess Johnson.
Indeed.
And I got to think Tess had a better execution, certainly on the jumps.
And she was quicker.
And like right there, just a little hesitation getting back into the line. How will the judges react?
Well, Lafont has had an outstanding year. Olympic champion, World Championship silver. It's good enough. Into first place, 82.26 for Lafont.
Wow, what a jump. That was unexpected to see 7 points ahead.
Can Yulia Galisheva of Kazakhstan deny Lafont of France, the final skier, the final competitor?
3, 2, 1, go.
Olympic bronze medalist. She trailed Lafont in Pyeongchang. Can she get ahead of her in Ruka, Finland?
There's the backflip mute grab, unlocking that hand off the ski, driving it back down the fall line, trying to keep direct, using as much energy as possible, snappy with that extension into the light part of the trough. There's that truck driver grab. Imagine you're a truck driver grabbing onto that steering wheel, both hands forward on that front flip.
24.60 for Galisheva. It was slower than Lafont. And now it's just a matter of what the judges thought.
I really like the variety there, the backflip mute grab, grabbing just above the toe piece of that left ski, and then right into the turns, and down here at the bottom, both hands reaching and grabbing above both skis to establish that truck driver grab.
It's twice she's done it. Is it good enough to get a gold medal for the Kazakhstan athlete? Galisheva, anxious wait. She'll expect to be amongst the medals. Will it be gold? Will it be silver? Will it be bronze? Is it good enough to beat Lafont in the first event of the season? Nerve-wracking wait for Galisheva. It's not good enough to beat Lafont. It'll be silver for Galisheva. It will be gold for Lafont. And it will be bronze for Tess Johnson of the United States. Well, just millimeters in it. But it is Perrine Lafont, the Olympic champion, who bests them all again.
Yeah, and some great skiing there from the ladies. What seems to be the key to success, we saw it early in the finals, number one, was clean and efficient skiing throughout the mid part of the section, mid part of the course. How these athletes are landing their jumps, regaining composure and control in the moguls.
So gold for Lafont, silver for Galisheva, bronze for Tess Johnson, and of note, 6th place for Justine Dufour-Lapointe of Canada. Photo opportunity for the medalists. Santa, reindeer, and the elves are all there as well. Well, we are in Lapland or thereabouts, just south, in fact, of the Arctic Circle, geographically speaking. It's a 9-hour drive north of Helsinki on a clear day.
with your foot on the gas.
With your foot on the gas, yes, I would imagine so. So Perrine Lafont begins the year as she means to continue. Which brings us on to the men's final. Can anybody best Mikhail Kingsbury, King of the Hill, fastest qualifier, comes expectant of a medal, but not just a medal, expectant of a gold medal. 5 others will try and beat him to the top of the podium. And the first of them is perhaps his closest rival going into this season, Ikuma Horishima, 20-year-old Japanese, who had 3 World Cup wins in 2018. Slight delay at the top of this men's final.
I'd just like to remind you that the top of this course is exposed to the wind. We had a couple shots earlier of that banner. It is a crosswind. Look for that wind perhaps to throw a little curveball into the rotation and the amplitude of that first jump. when you spin into the wind will slow down that rotation as we get set with our first athlete here in the super final.
So Hiroshima on track.
A big 1080 right to the pad and right into the turns. Really quick there, a little deep into the troughs, lining up this second air. Lots of speed. 1440.
Oh my word. Well, just one trick perhaps, one turn, one twist, too many for Hiroshima. He absolutely went for it, didn't he?
Well,
he wasn't holding anything back, but it's a risk-reward sport, Mike, isn't it?
If that was Christmas dinner, it'd be overcooked. And you could see 4 rotations on that bottom, and you can see that left arm continuing the rotation and unfortunately spins out. I didn't think we'd see a 14 on this course. They had a little time to prep it, a soft landing, and the Japanese skier Ikuma goes for it on the bottom air.
So Hiroshima almost did the impossible, but not quite. One turn too many for the young Japanese, and that will probably take him out of medal contention. Other than that, it was breathtaking, Mike.
Well, it certainly was, and you could see Santa Claus there, who's used to sliding down the chimneys, unaware that a trick of that magnitude would be performed here at the first World Cup of the season.
The score reflecting at 50s will not be enough, not close enough. Now, Jimmy Salonen, the local hero, we mentioned him in qualifying, came to entertain, went for everything, has 3 wins on this course, so he knows it like the back of his hand. Can he produce it under the pressure of a World Cup Moguls final?
Well, he put down an electrifying run in finals number 1. Couple little bobs with the head there through the midsection, but holding good speed, little far in the back seat. Look at how far he travels.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff from Salonen. 20.33, the home cooking certainly agrees with the Finnish competitor. Terrific stuff from Jimmy Salonen. 24 years of age. Has no great World Cup record to speak of, but here he is threatening the podium in his home country.
And right into that left turn, transferring the weight to the forward part of the ski. Now back seat coming into that cork 7 at the bottom, just holding off and traveling A to B almost like a stinger shot in golf as opposed to dropping out of the sky like a 9-iron. So a little flat on that landing, a couple points will be deducted because of that trajectory.
Well, what sort of score are we looking for here? Again, into the 80s, Mike, something like that? Is that what he should be scoring to get on the podium, or maybe not that much?
Well, I think you're going to need a mid-8 if you want to
81.96, that's the target. Jimmy Salonen into first place. There are 4 skiers to come, but that's quite a target that the Finnish athlete has put down in front of the hometown fans. His Scandinavian rival, Walter Vollberg, didn't necessarily expect to see him in the final either, but here he is, just 18 years of age. So youth on his side. What can Vollberg produce? How can he respond to the Finnish challenge?
Really clean skiing in the middle, starting to get a little separation with each leg, not working together. And there's the 1080 from Walter at the bottom of the course as well.
21.44, it's not as fast, it wasn't quite as clean as Salonen. It will take him into second place for the time being. Wasn't perhaps his best.
Watch that back full, and that right arm comes up to stop the rotation of that back full. There's the skis. We're seeing a lot of sidewall action. Want to see more of a transfer in each rut rather than a pivot from side to side getting lateral. Walter, a little backseat on that landing as well.
Will it be enough to overhaul Salonen? The home crowd hoping not so. Fingers crossed from the Swede Vollberg. He is into first place, 82.38. And ahead of Salonen. Well, I don't know. Maybe a little surprising.
I just thought a little cleaner section there from Walter through the midsection of that course.
3 to come. Ben Cavette of France via England, 24 years of age, 11 World Cup podiums.
Nice double full backflip, 720, 2 rotations on that backflip. Look at how quiet that upper body is. We haven't seen that kind of skiing yet here in the finals. maintaining very strong speed in great position for the cork 1080.
Terrific
right
stuff.
on the landing of that
Oh,
mogul.
yes, he liked it. He liked it. He really liked it.
Yeah, there's your new leader.
I don't think there's any question. He was hardly across the finishing line before the fist pump started. He knew he nailed it, and he knew he was quick.
Now, the one thing that we'll look with Kingsbury is where he travels on that bottom air. You can see Ben landing on the face of that mogul, having to absorb it. Kingsbury has been traveling a little further down the course, which makes that landing that much more effortless.
Congratulations from his fellow finalists, but Cavett has set a whole new standard, it would appear, with only 2 skiers to come. Let's have a look what the judges thought. 86.45 and comfortably into first place for Cavett, to the delight of the French coaching team. They invested wisely in the Englishman. 2 to come. Reichert of Kazakhstan and Kingsbury of Canada. Now there is a real target to meet. Dmitry Reichert, 14 World Cup podiums, the 29-year-old from Kazakhstan. Can he overhaul Cavett, get himself on the podium?
Well, he's clean, he's quick, he needs the speed to be on his side. A little wide getting back into that line on that skier's right side. Really nice skiing here from Dmitry. A little loose, a little back seat, misses the takeoff. And you can see he just wasn't as prepared coming into that bottom air and completely missed the takeoff.
It was 1995, but the time is largely irrelevant.
So starts things off up top, really establishes the skiing, and then down here at the bottom, you can see how he absorbs that jump, and just through air awareness, he's able to find his feet, but unfortunately that will not be on the podium
It was
tonight.
the quickest we've seen. It was less than 20 seconds, but a look of resignation, I think, Mike, on the face of Dmitry Reichert here. He knows he only gets 1 shot at it, and that second jump, as you say, he just missed it. He was reaching. Didn't time it, the timing went, and when the timing goes, there's no way of retrieving that 4th place for Reichert, which means that Cavett will be on the podium, and there is 1 skier to go. But this isn't just any skier. This is Mikhail Kingsbury of De Montagne, Quebec in Canada. The Crystal Globe winner. Come on, Mickey says to himself.
There's Coach Michelle Hamlin up top, all about transitions, coming in and out of the jumps. Big back full, Mikkel drifting a little further than most athletes. Again, those shoulders remaining rock solid. Coming into this bottom air, watch the landing, and compared to what we saw from the Frenchman, going way big on that 1080, the king has returned. I mean,
20.17 for Kingsbury.
Christmas dinner is served with all the fixing, including extra cranberries. I mean, right into the line, down here at the bottom, the comparable to Ben. Watch the landing of this 1080, right here on the downside of that mogul. Look how quick he is to get those knees back into it. I mean, it's flawless. It's by far the biggest jump of the event.
Kingsbury knows it, and that's what makes him so good. He wins it. He will win in Ruka for a 4th straight year. 2018, 2017, 2016, and 2015. He loves this track. And to nobody's surprise, Mikhail Kingsbury of Canada is your gold medalist in round 1 of the 2018-2019.
I mean, every event we saw him here tonight, he was 2 points ahead of the field. There is no signs of him slowing down.
Kingsbury takes gold ahead of Cavett of France, and Volberg of Sweden takes the bronze. Laurent Dumais of Canada in 11th place. Jimmy Salonen, though, just missing out on the podium. What a story that would have been for the locals.
Well, no kidding, and when we saw Jimmy tear up that course, we certainly felt the presence of the Finnish spectators cheering him on, and what a warm reception it was to have this event back in Ruka.
No surprise that Kingsbury wins it, no surprise that Cavet is on the podium again, but not just this event, but in terms of laying down a marker for the season. Kingsbury came, he was prepared, he talked about upping his game during the summer, making himself even more formidable, talking about tweaking his diet, bringing in new tricks, and, you know, just sort of saying, if you think, you know, I'm going away anytime soon, I'm 26 years of age, but guess what? I'm still here, I'm still the guy.
And the underlining ingredient in that mix is passion. He absolutely loves the sport, and it is that passion and that love of that pursuit of excellence that fuels Kingsbury, and we're seeing it as we did last year, starting off the World Cup season. It was his 43rd win last year. Tonight's win is significant because it is number 50, 50 wins for Mikkel Kingsbury on the World Cup stage.
Just remind ourselves quickly of the women's result. Perrine Lafont, the Olympic champion, taking the gold ahead of Kazakhstan's Yulia Galisheva, and Tess Johnson of the United States finishing third. Justine Dufour-Lepointe of Canada in 6th place. So making the medals final, but at the back of the bus, unfortunately, for Dufour-Lepointe, who I'm sure will prove us and put smiles on our faces as the season goes forward. But there is a Canadian on the top of the podium on the men's side, Mikkel Kingsbury of Du Montagne, ahead of Cavet and Volberg of Sweden, with the local favourite Jimmy Salonen finishing just off the podium. The first event of a brand new season, and the locals came out as the snow begins to fall in Ruka on this Friday night. Temperature around -5, -6, but plenty of entertainment, Mike, and it was close going for a while there.
Oh, it certainly was. We saw the key to success. You can see the coach at the top of the hill, all these athletes using visualization. It's a good start for Tess Johnson, 3rd place from the United States. There's that front flip truck driver we talked about. So a lot of unusual grabs and rotations in the ladies.
And as far as Perrine Lafont is concerned, well, carrying on where she left off with the Olympics.
Yeah, such a strong skier.
And just 20 years of age. You know, she seems to have come from virtually nowhere in the last couple of years. The World Championships in 2017, and then success in Pyeongchang in 2018. So Lafont is the winner of the men's competition as far as the men are concerned. Walter Volberg, perhaps a surprise 3rd place for him. But Cavet for France, coming home 2nd. English-born, but skiing for France with a flawless run, and the only man to beat him, the great Canadian, the king of the hill.
And the king back on top, right where he belongs. And I thought it was this jump in particular that set him apart from the field, traveling way down that landing hill and landing right into the moguls, right back into the action, and right back to the top of the podium.
So all our winners are gathered. It's been fun bringing this live event to you on this Friday, wherever you are across Canada. And Mikkel Kingsbury back to winning ways, just as he was expect, as the Dufour-Lepointe sisters get together to compare their runs today, send some messages back home. We hope you'll join us many more times throughout this FIS freestyle world season. From Mike Atkinson and myself, Nigel Reed, thanks very much indeed for joining us, and have a great weekend.
Matkassa ukkoverkot Märkö, Kaleva, Kathmandu, Scandic, Danske Bank, Hoviruokaa, HPP-asianajo, toimistossa sekä elämys Group kaikille teille.